They said Amarta village never forgot. The land had a way of holding memory, in its red soil, in the cracked drums that called the elders to council, in the stones that marked where the condemned once knelt. And Amarta's oldest memory was of fire. The law was older than any man living. If a woman carries the seed of a man who is not her husband, her body shall be given to the flames, for the land must be cleansed of deceit. No one questioned it. The law was life. The law was fear. When Amaka arrived in Amarta, the air itself seemed to pause. She was beautiful in a way that made old women shake their heads, soft brown eyes, skin the color of new palm wine, laughter that melted the edges of anger. She was 26 and had dreams that couldn't fit inside her father's small hut. Her marriage to Chief Nnamdi Okeke was arranged. The chief was a wealthy widower, 60 and strong, known for his lands and cattle. He wanted a young wife to bear him one more son before his bones gave in. For Amaka's family, the offer was impossible to refuse. So they married her off in a ceremony filled with drums, wine, and blessings that sounded more like goodbyes. At first, Amaka tried to settle into her new life. She served Nnamdi his meals, knelt when he spoke, and smiled when the wives of elders came to gossip. But at night, when the lamps burned low, she would lie awake staring at the cracked ceiling, feeling the emptiness beside her, a cold void that even her beauty could not fill. Then, one day, his son returned. Chike Okeke was the chief's only son from his late wife. He had been away in Enugu, studying electrical engineering, working in the city's hum and noise. When he returned, the compound stirred. The women whispered, the men nodded with respect. He was tall, with quiet confidence, and eyes that burned with something Amaka had not seen in Amarta, gentleness. Their first encounter was by accident. Amaka was fetching water from the family's well when the rope slipped from her hand. The clay pot fell and cracked against the stones. Chike appeared, picked up the fragments, and smiled. "You fetch like you're fighting the rope," he said. "And you speak like a man who's never fetched water," she replied, laughing softly. It began there, a spark so small that even the wind could have snuffed it out. But the wind didn't. It fed it. They found excuses to see each other, to share roasted corn by the mango tree, to talk under the moonlight when the compound slept. They spoke of freedom, of cities far away, of love that didn't have to hide. And one night, when the rain fell heavy and the thunder silenced the world, Amaka's loneliness met Chike's longing. What began as comfort became surrender. From that night, they were bound by something stronger than reason, and far more dangerous than lust. Weeks passed. Amaka began to change. Her steps slowed. Her glow returned, not from happiness, but from life growing inside her. When she realized she was with child, her heart broke and bloomed all at once. Chike froze when she told him. "We'll run," he said. "And go where?" she asked. "To live as what? Fugitives? Outcasts? Better an outcast than ash." They planned to leave after the next market day. But secrets in Amarta were like smoke, they never stayed hidden. A neighbor, Mama Ijoma, saw Amaka one morning, hand resting on her belly, smiling to herself. She saw the shape of joy, and in that joy, she saw sin. By evening, the rumor had grown legs. By midnight, it had a name. When the village rooster crowed, everyone in Amarta already knew Chief Nnamdi's young wife was pregnant, and the child was not his. The elders gathered beneath the iroko tree. The drums stopped. The air was heavy. Chief Nnamdi sat at the center, his face unreadable. The council head, Elder Uche, stood with the ancient staff of judgment. "Amaka Okeke," he called. "You are accused of defiling your husband's bed. What say you?" The crowd murmured. The women covered their mouths. The men stared coldly. Amaka raised her head, tears tracing her cheeks. "I am guilty," she said. "But I am also human." Gasps. "Whose child do you carry?" "Chike's." The silence that followed could have split stone. Chike stepped forward. "It is true," he said. "She carries my child. I love her." The words were a fire of their own. Elder Uche's staff struck the ground. "Then by the law of our ancestors," he thundered, "the woman must burn. And the man shall be cast out for bringing shame upon his father's house." Amaka trembled. Chike moved to shield her, but the guards held him back. Then, to everyone's shock, Nnamdi rose. Slowly, his staff shaking slightly in his grip. "Enough," he said. "The law is the law," Elder Uche replied. "The law is not God," Nnamdi said. "It was written by men who feared betrayal more than they understood love." The crowd whispered again. "You would defy our ancestors," the elder backed. "I would defy any law that asks me to kill the woman who gave me back my son," Nnamdi said, his voice breaking. Chike froze. Amaka's eyes widened. "Yes," Nnamdi continued. "Do you think I do not see it? I married her too young. I trapped her in a home built from my pride. And you," he turned to Chike, "you gave her what I could not. I will not kill love to preserve vanity." He turned to the council. "If the law must be obeyed, then let it take me too, for I am guilty of creating the cage she escaped from." The silence was absolute. For the first time in living memory, the chief had challenged the sacred fire. The elders withdrew to deliberate. Torches burned low. The villagers waited. When the elders returned, their decision was final. "The flames shall not be lit. But neither can Amarta house a broken law. Amaka and Chike shall be exiled forever." Exile. The slow death. They were given one day to gather their things. That night, Amaka sat in the yard where she had first met Chike. "We will start anew," he whispered. "And if the world rejects us," she asked, "then we'll build our own world." At dawn, Nnamdi walked them to the village boundary. He handed Chike a small pouch of cowries and palm seeds. "Go," he said. "Live well. Let your child be the proof that love can heal what fear destroys." Amaka fell to her knees, weeping. "Forgive me." "There's nothing to forgive," Nnamdi said softly. "Only lessons to remember." They turned and walked into the forest path. The morning sun broke over the trees, casting gold over their backs like a blessing. Behind them, the village that once threatened to burn them now stood silent, torn between tradition and truth. Back in Amarta, years later, the elders gathered once again under the Iroko tree. Elder Uche, now frail and grey, opened the ancient ledger to read the laws. But when he turned to the page that once demanded fire, the words were gone, washed away by rain or time. "Perhaps the ancestors have written a new one," he murmured. And when he looked toward the horizon, he thought he saw two figures walking in the distance. A man, a woman, and a little girl chasing butterflies. Years passed. Seasons turned. The story of Amaka and Chike became a whisper, first in the markets, then in the songs of children, and finally in the stories told by firelight. Amarta changed slowly, like a wound learning to scar. The law of fire was never written again. No woman burned after Amaka. No man was ever cast out for love. It was as though the ancestors themselves had grown weary of the smoke. But the old ones still remembered. And sometimes, when the moon rose red over the hills, they would say the spirits of the condemned walked through the village, touching the doors of those who once judged them, not in anger, but in quiet forgiveness. Far away, in a small settlement by the edge of a river, Amaka gave birth to a daughter. They named her Neka, Mother is Supreme. Her cry was strong, fierce, like a flame refusing to die. Chike built a small home by the water. He worked as a repairman, fixing radios and generators, while Amaka sold palm oil and fruits in the nearby market. They lived simply, but in their simplicity was peace. Every night, Chike would place his hand on Amaka's belly and whisper, "Your fire saved us. Don't ever regret it." But peace has a way of attracting shadows. One night, when Neka was 5, a group of men arrived, emissaries from Amarta. At their head stood Elder Uche, older now, his beard silver, his eyes softer than before. "We have not come for punishment," he said. "We have come to ask for forgiveness." Amaka froze. The words struck her harder than judgment ever did. Elder Uche knelt before her. "The land has been restless since you left," he said quietly. "Our crops fail, our streams dry early, our women mourn. Perhaps it was not the law that cleansed the land, but love that once held it together." He turned to Chike. "Your father's grave is honored now. The people speak his name with tears. They call him the chief who chose mercy." Amaka's eyes glistened. "What do you want from us?" she asked softly. "To return," Uche said. "Not as the condemned, but as the healed. To show Amarta what mercy looks like with a face." Chike looked at Amaka. Her hands trembled slightly, but she nodded. "Not for us," she said, "but for our daughter." And so they returned. Not in chains. Not in shame. The drums that once called judgment now called welcome. The same Iroko tree that had seen tears now saw joy. Children ran before them, scattering petals on the red earth. Amaka lifted Neka high in her arms. And for the first time, the land that once demanded her death blessed her footsteps. Chief Namdi's grave stood at the edge of the path. Amaka knelt before it, her voice breaking as she whispered, "Your mercy was not wasted." A soft wind moved through the trees, carrying with it the scent of rain and palm blossoms. It brushed against her cheek like an unseen hand. And somewhere deep beneath the earth, Amarta exhaled. As though the land itself had finally forgiven. And so, the village that once remembered fire came to remember love instead. For in Amarta, the ashes of the past had bloomed into something new, redemption.